High school, all of you already know what similes and metaphors are. So this is just a quick review or recap video. Now on the left, we have one of the most famous similes from a movie, Forrest Gump, my favorite movie of all time. It says, Mama always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And on the right is a metaphor. Put yourself in another man's shoes. Now I'm sure you already know the difference, but we'll start with similes. They're really easy to detect because they have like or as. So here's a few examples. Tina is as brave as a lion. She sings like an angel. Your heart is as cold as ice. It was like watching grass grow. Lenny's as innocent as a lamb. Your music is as sweet as sugar. I work like a dog for this company. Shine like the stars. Spots clean as a whistle. And life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Now, it's important to note that with similes and metaphors, we're comparing two things. We're finding a comparison between the two, but the two things are not alike. For instance, music and sugar, in your music is as sweet as sugar, are not similar. They're not the same. They're not alike. Tina is as brave as a lion. Tina is a girl, a human girl. A lion is an animal. They're not alike. We can find something that connects them, like being brave, like being sweet, but the two things are not alike. If they are alike, it's not a simile. For instance, the UK is like the US, not a simile, just a comparison. They're both countries. They're both predominantly Christian. They both have strong economies. They're both going through terrible political times at the moment, but whatever. This is not a simile. So why do we have similes? What's the importance? Well, they're a really good form of imagery. They can help us to really picture a scene. For instance, in this example from Sherlock Holmes, she entered with ungainly struggle, like some huge, awkward chicken torn, squawking out of its coop. You can really imagine this woman coming in completely out of place, walking all over the place like she shouldn't be there, really awkward. You're able to imagine that. So similes are really good at comparing two things to put an image in our minds. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills. It's from the Daffodils by Wordsworth. Now, this really draws our attention to what is being compared here and the connection between the two things. Here, Wordsworth wants to describe loneliness and uses a simile to really fix our minds on being lonely. By using a simile, we stop and we're drawn in by the piece of figurative language, in this case, lonely as a cloud, and it makes us really think about it. I would have given anything for the power to soothe her frail soul, tormenting itself in its invincible ignorance, like a small bird beating about the cruel wires of a cage. This is from Lord Jim by Joseph Conrad. Now, similes are a really great way to explain something complicated in a much easier way. Now, explaining emotional turmoil and torment and inner conflicts can sometimes be a very difficult thing to explain. But by using a simile, in this case, by comparing it to a small bird beating around a cage, the torment that this bird might feel, we're really able to understand the complexities of the emotional turmoil this person is going through. So similes are a great way to make something seem more simple. And finally, the fire crept as a jaguar creeps toward a line of birch-like saplings. Now, if you watch other videos on connotations, you'll understand that comparing something to something else allows our brains to make connections. Now, when I hear the word jaguar, I think vicious predator that kills. So I now see this fire as a sort of predator that's going to stalk and kill its prey. Let's look at metaphors. Now, the big thing about metaphors, the thing that makes them a bit more difficult to spot than similes, is they do not have like or as. They simply say that something is something else. For instance, your voice is music to my ears. The homework was a breeze. It's clear skies from now on. Laughter is the best medicine. She was full of pearls of wisdom. I am a diamond in the dirt. This mortgage is a shackle that binds me. Shine like the stars. That's a simile, that shouldn't be there. Life is a highway and the world's a stage. All of these, bar the stars one, are examples of metaphors because they do not have like or as. They do this. They have the same purpose. We compare two things, we find a connection between the two, and we use that to highlight everything else. So your voice is music to my ears. Okay, well, it's not actually music, but music is often a sweet sound that we enjoy, and therefore your voice is a sweet sound we enjoy. A diamond is something that's very valuable. So a diamond in the dirt is something valuable amongst things that are not valuable. It's clear skies from now. There's no storms on the horizon. There's nothing that's going to ruin us, ruin and cause us misfortune, and therefore everything is happy and easy. Let's have a look at some examples from literature. So similarly, metaphors are a fantastic way to create a lot of imagery. The sun was a toddler, insistently refusing to go to bed. It was past 8:30 and still light. Now this is from John Green's The Fault in Our Stars. Imagine if John Green had just written, it was 8:30. It doesn't really create atmosphere and a good compelling scene. But using this metaphor really allows us to picture the imagery that's going on here, what can be seen. This is a religious quote. But now, O Lord, you are our Father, we are the clay, you are our potter, and all of us are the work of your hands. Now this metaphor really draws us in, that, you know, the Lord God is someone who takes great care in creation. Okay, using this metaphor really grabs our attention and draws us in. The parents looked upon Matilda in particular as nothing more than a scab. A scab is something you have to put up with until the time comes when you can pick it off and flick it away. Now this is a quote from Matilda by Roald Dahl. I actually really like this because Roald Dahl has taken the time to explain the metaphor. But again, like all metaphors, it's a great way of explaining something really complex in simpler terms. And finally, one from Romeo and Juliet by Shakespeare. But soft what light through yonder window breaks, it is the east and Juliet is the sun. Again, we make these connections in our brain by comparing Juliet to the sun. We think, okay, sun, big, bright, beautiful, stops all the darkness in our lives. So we have those connotations, we make those connections. So to reiterate, similes really create vivid imagery, grab our attention, and highlight what's being compared, make complex things simpler, and cause us to form connections with other things. Now, something which you might not have seen as much of are extended metaphors. They're the same principle, they're just metaphors which span several lines, a paragraph, or even several pages. For instance, the one I just mentioned from Romeo and Juliet actually spans 4 lines. But soft what light through yonder window breaks, it is the east and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief. This metaphor comparing Juliet to the sun spans 4 lines. He says, kill the envious moon, in reference to another woman who is already sick and pale with grief. Basically highlighting Juliet's sunly beauty. Another extended metaphor from the same play is, if I profane with my unworthiest hand this holy shrine, the gentle sin is this, my lips to blushing pilgrims ready stand, to smooth that rough touch with a tender kiss. Good pilgrim, you do wrong your hand too much, which mannerly devotion shows in this, for saints have hands that pilgrims' hands do touch, and palm to palm is holy palm's kiss. Now this is part of a sonnet when they first meet, and you can see that Romeo is calling Juliet a shrine, referencing himself as pilgrims, and this spans several lines. She in fact continues the metaphor to an extent, and with this religious imagery. Here's another example from Hope is the Thing with Feathers by Emily Dickinson. In the poem, Dickinson likens hope to a bird, and this continues throughout the whole poem. So hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul, and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could have bashed the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chilliest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. So in this poem, Dickinson refers to hope as a bird, starting off with hope is the thing with feathers, okay, that perches on the soul. Obviously perches connotations with birds anyway, sings the tune without the words. So all of these things describe a bird, but are actually a metaphor for hope. And even when she finishes the poem, it asked a crumb of me. Okay, it never asked nothing from me. This beautiful bird, which lifts people up, which does so much good, has never asked nothing from me. Okay, so the metaphor spans the whole poem. Now, when we come to do our analysis, metaphors are really going to focus on level 1. Level 2 and level 3 are going to be about what the metaphors show in the whole and outside of the text. So how would you define Romeo's love for Juliet? I'm going to use the Lover's Sonnet. Romeo's love for Juliet is real and pure, demonstrated through his use of religious metaphors to describe her. This isn't something I actually agree with, but when Romeo and Juliet meet at the Capulet's feast, they recite a sonnet together. In it, Romeo describes Juliet as a holy shrine, which he profanes with his unworthiest hand, ending by describing his lips as blushing pilgrims. Now, a level 1 analysis here would be to look at the metaphors and explain their value and their importance. Any connotations we can think of, what is intended, what we take away from it. So by using a metaphor, referring to Juliet as a holy shrine, she is immediately set apart from Rosaline, whom Romeo obsessed over before. Moreover, he continues the metaphor by adding that his hand is not worthy and refers to his lips as blushing pilgrims or religious travellers. Why is that important? Well, it puts her on a pedestal. Religion is something that's very valued, particularly in Elizabethan England. So she is something pure and valued. Through these religious metaphors, Romeo is revealed to be a lot purer and sincere. And this would have been important, particularly important with Elizabethan audiences. Sorry, there's grammar mistakes in this. Particularly with Elizabethan audiences who were devout Protestants or Catholics. So we go through level 1, we look at the metaphor, we look at the simile, we think about the connections we make, why it's important, what we take away from it. Level 2, we say what that simile and what that metaphor reveals about the whole story, the whole character, the whole plot, the whole setting. And level 3, how does it develop a theme? How does it connect to the historical context or other texts? Thanks for watching, guys.